Jim on a mulligan here for the third game against Michael Olsen.
And looks like Jim's taking a mulligan here. Talking about before we started the top 8, how Militia Bugler, pretty big update for humans in this matchup. Jim has 3 in the main deck, a 4th in the sideboard, so all 4 should be in for this game. Matchup largely about attrition.
It's always the worst feeling when you're mulliganing against a deck like Jund.
Yeah. The effect of Militia Bugler, assuming that Jim has a good mix of lands and spells, does undo some of that. For Michael Olsen, his sideboard does have a copy of Engineered Explosives and a copy of Anger of the Gods. Those are pretty high-impact sideboard cards here. Mixed pretty well with assortment of 1-for-1 removal spells that you'll typically see in a Jund deck. 2 Fatal Push, 4 Lightning Bolt, a Terminate and Abrupt Decay. A 3rd Fatal Push in the sideboard as well, so pretty heavy on 1-mana removal.
Jim having kept on 6 here, and we're underway with the third game. Starts on Noble Hierarch for Jim Davis.
Looks like Olsen's either up to bolting the bird or casting a discard spell. He's doing something here.
2 copies of Thalia in Jim's hand. It's on the play for this third game, so can be down 2 cards. And we're going to see Inquisition of Kozilek. Jim's hand. Bugler, Thalia.
Pretty easy to take the unique effect, and really Bugler is a bit better than Thalia in the matchup anyway.
Yeah, a big hit for Jim. He would have liked to have, that turn 2 Bugler would have been pretty nice.
Yeah. Thalia is fine. It'll get him on the battlefield. Current mana setup, his first land was Ancient Ziggurat, the second's Horizon Canopy, so he can't crack Canopy with his other land just yet, which is a little unfortunate. Can use the Hierarch, though.
Play one of the Thalias and attack in for 1, thanks to Exalted from that Noble Hierarch. And for Michael, he'll make a Dark Confidant. He's down to 16 right now. Trying to get a bit more ahead on cards. Gotta be careful of that life total, though. Over to Jim, draws Cavern of Souls.
If you're a Jim Davis fan, you're hoping that this Dark Confidant just reveals a bunch of Bloodbraid Elves and can't be removed.
Jim will use the Horizon Canopy to draw a card, and he draws into another Cavern.
2 lands and the second Thalia is the hand.
Yeah, that's not going to do anything. He will Exalt in for 3 to send Michael to 13, but Jim right now is out of gas. And that is not a Bloodbraid Elf. Michael will net a fetch land for free on that.
Yeah, things going very well for Michael so far in the game.
We are going to be restarting round 9 with a new set of pairings and a new set of stands.
I want to say there's a Collective Brutality hanging out in the hand here. You know, it's a removal spell. Paying 3 for it's not ideal. You're not going to get any additional value. Could maybe discard a card to gain 2 life, which isn't the worst. He has a pretty full hand.
Yeah, with the Dark Confidant going, an escalated Collective Brutality seems pretty good. Now, it's a little difficult because you'd be hitting the Thalia, and he knows Jim has another Thalia.
Could just hit the Hierarch.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what he could hit the Hierarch. Or he may not care. I mean, 2 life and a turn is fine.
Yeah. If he has something like a Tarmogoyf, I think it's pretty easy to play that over the Brutality.
Absolutely.
If there's no plays, though, I'd like to fire off my removal spell, especially because Brutality can't ever trade with the Mantis Rider.
Scavenging Ooze is the play, and a Raging Ravine.
Yeah, that was pretty good. There's already a creature in the graveyard.
Yeah, I like this. Makes plays like that Collective Brutality a lot more appealing.
Mm-hmm.
Jim draws a 3rd Thalia.
Yikes.
Yeah, that's... All right, here we are. Swing for 3. Michael's to 10.
He's even only playing 3 Thalias. So that's the full...
As demonstrated, he is playing 3 Thalias.
That's the full amount.
Now, this Kolaghan's command was revealed by Dark Confidant. Sends Michael down to 7.
It's 3 damage to Michael, and it's an inefficient removal spell. The second mode doesn't matter. Jim will discard a Thalia.
Yeah, now between the Collective Brutality in Michael's hand and this Scavenging Ooze, the idea that Michael will kill himself with the Dark Confidant is getting less likely.
It's a pipe dream.
Yeah. Sees he fetches down to 6.
And then the Brutality also puts another creature in the graveyard. So on this turn, he'll be able to use 3 mana. Brutality, 1 left over for activation of Scavenging Ooze. So if he escalates, and I believe he will, he'll end up at 9 at the end of this.
Which I guess if you have a Mantis Rider off the top, and then Michael flips a Bloodbraid Elf.
You're getting close.
We're getting there, yeah.
You're getting close.
Collective Brutality from Michael Olsen. And yes, he'll escalate discarding Inquisition of Kozilek.
Yeah, that one's really poor when you know that Jim is hanging out with the second Thalia and is not otherwise casting spells.
Yeah,
and it also costs 2 to cast.
He's going for Noble Hierarch, too. I don't mind this, especially when he knows he has the Ooze as a 3/3 blocker.
Yeah.
So Michael up to 8. And he's attacking.
That's a sign of confidence.
Yeah. Pumps go. I mean, he makes a 3/3 Ooze and goes up to 9 life.
Yeah, Jim already knows about that Kolaghan's command.
All right, well, Mantis Rider off the top for Jim. Plus, I said, plus that flip off Dark Confidant could, well, make things interesting.
Well, if he had Mantis Rider and then attack with Thalia, that'd be 5. A Bloodbraid Elf, I suppose you would be able to use Scavenging Ooze before you had to see the Dark Confidant card.
I think so. Jim drew Reflector Mage. That's going to play well here.
Yeah, you can reset that Scavenging Ooze, I imagine, would be the target. You kind of want the Dark Confidants to beat up Michael.
And Jim is down to 11, thanks to that attack. So we're going to see another Cavern of Souls. And Michael's down to 7. And now we have a Reflector Mage on Scavenging Ooze. That takes away Michael's ability to gain life. Jim's hoping for a nice, large flip here. And that's not going to do it. That's a land.
Yeah, Blooming Marsh for 0.
Michael's hand here. We know we have at least 1 Kolaghan's command, a Scavenging Ooze that can't be cast, a few lands.
Yeah. Chose to play Verdant Catacombs here over that Blooming Marsh. Looks like Fatal Push is available.
Okay.
Looking at triggering Revolt so you can hit that Reflector Mage.
Yeah, I like this. This is enough mana to both cast Fatal Push and Kolaghan's command through Thalia.
And Jim drew another land.
Right, so Michael should have all the attacks covered here.
Yeah, once you get through a turn where you push down the Reflector Mage, and you can use Kolaghan's command on the Thalia, you still want to have an answer for a potential Mantis Rider.
Right, so hopefully he wouldn't use that Fatal Push if he doesn't have to.
Yeah, you would like to use something else, though kind of the things that answer these 2 cards they tend to be the same spells.
Do you think we might see Michael intentionally chump away the Dark Confidant here?
If there's an attack, I don't mind that.
So Jim goes to combat. Michael's going to have to pay 1 more for that Kolaghan's command, so we'll pause them here for a sec.
Yeah, it's a 4-mana spell.
There we go.
All the same, though.
Yep. 2 Thalias, so 1 from the hand and the one in play. And now Michael is going to actually spend, it looks like, that Fatal Push going to... Is that 4? Is he shocking?
Correct. The Catacombs. His main deck has 2 Swamps.
We'll see whether this is an end step fetch or whether it's when we go to attack.
It looked like Jim might have just declined to attack.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't want Michael to be able to trade away the Confidant.
Tarmogoyf sends Michael to 4. Now Jim can cast Scavenging Ooze again this turn. Or Michael can cast it. He's got a lot of green sources in play.
Yeah, good amount of creatures in the graveyard as well. You should be able to curb this Dark Confidant fairly effectively.
Yeah, I like this. Michael's attacking the Confidant straight into a Reflector Mage. Jim, he'll go to 9. He needs the help off those triggers. Inquisition of Kozilek is cast. Jim loses his last Thalia. And Tarmogoyf is cast. He's not going for Scavenging Ooze. He might just be planning to bolt his own Dark Confidant away.
Yeah, looks like that's an option available.
Yeah,
Totally reasonable.
Absolutely. He has Bolt and Fatal Push in hand. So he has a Mantis Rider covered with Bolt. He has his own Confidant covered with Push. He has the Reflector Mage covered with Tarmogoyf. Everything's looking good for Michael.
Yeah. Yeah, things coming together quite nicely for him.
Off the top of the deck now for Jim.
If you believe you have made the top 8 of the Modern Classic,
He's going to give it a think. There's not a lot of top decks he has here that matter.
to the far right of the stage,
Mostly looking for Mantis Riders and kind of hoping that they're good.
Phantasmal Image for Jim is the play. He's got some... We'll see if this resolves as far as whether Michael wants to remove a creature before this hits the table.
Imagine Michael wants to remove this Reflector Mage. You don't really want your Tarmogoyf to get bounced.
That sounds right. Now, he may have to Fatal Push his own Dark Confidant then before upkeep. Doesn't want to lose to Bloodbraid.
You might even do that in response to this image so that Jim doesn't have a Dark Confidant.
Yeah, Jim would have to choose Tarmogoyf. Is he letting Reflector Mage resolve here?
That looked like a thumbs up to me, but
Okay. And it will. It'll make a Reflector Mage and attack on in. And Michael's going down to 2. I guess Revolt's online now. He's going to Fatal Push his own Dark Confidant.
see Jim
And
there.
he just untaps. Still has that Scavenging Ooze. And that's not bad here. He'll make Scavenging Ooze. He has 4 green up. He'll make another Scavenging Ooze, play a land, and pass.
Yeah, so both of these Scavenging Oozes can exile a creature, and then they can both jump in front of one of the Reflector Mages.
Right. And that still has Lightning Bolt to cover a top-decked Mantis Rider.
Mm-hmm.
Back over to Jim Davis we go. If he cannot put any pressure on this turn, the crack back from Michael Olsen is going to be big.
And with this setup, Mantis Rider isn't even good for Jim. The double Scavenging Ooze is set up so that, sure, if Jim has Mantis Rider, Michael takes one of the green mana down, he bolts that. One of his Scavenging Oozes would be eaten by a Reflector Mage in combat, but then he just has a Scavenging Ooze left over. Tons of green mana, tons of creatures and graveyards. So he's still in a very good position.
Yeah, I actually think it would be lethal on the attack back. He could then use this Ravine plus the remaining green mana to hit back for 9.
Yeah.
And Jim drew Mantis Rider. This was the draw. Now, we believe Michael has this covered. Let's see how he does it.
Mm-hmm.
So, Michael at 2. Mantis Rider was the cast. Now, we believe there's a Lightning Bolt in Michael's hand. So,
Right.
it's not just dead to this.
Yeah, Jim's looking at whether he wants to attack with these Reflector Mages. So just both of them activating, Michael going to 4, stabilizing at 1. That's too much for Jim, so he doesn't want to make those attacks.
He swings, calls him on the Lightning Bolt. Michael has it. And then Scavenging Ooze eats a creature, goes up to 3. And another Fatal Push drawn for Michael Olsen.
Yeah, it may not be revolted, but it can always target the Phantasmal Image, even though it's copying a 3, and that would trigger the image, and that would be sacrificed if you wanted to go that route. And now we have so much green mana, there's so many creatures in the graveyards that he doesn't have to be concerned about Mantis Rider anymore.
And there's just the 3/3 Ooze will swing. There is 5 green mana in play, and 5 creatures in graveyards.
So this is 1 shy of lethal with a full activation. Jim at 9.
Right. The hard part is that life gain on top of it.
Yes.
Jim says no blocks. So how much does Michael want to sink into this Ooze? Looks like we have 1, 2. See where he wants to stop. He'll stop there. So it's a 5/5 Scavenging Ooze. Jim drops to 4. Michael's up to 5. And he'll keep going, I suppose, up to 6. So no damage. Actually, we're still pre-damage.
Yes, Tarmogoyf that both players know about, and Fatal Push. It makes enough sense to leave the Fatal Push up, though it's very unlikely to matter.
Right.
It just seems like the Scavenging Ooze at this point has totally taken over the game.
And for Jim, and he extends the hand. 8 seed Michael Olsen takes the win. So what we thought, 2 players pacing the field, Jim Davis and Jeff Hoagland, both of them are going to fall short in the quarterfinal matches, losing close ones in 3.
Yeah, and that's really just the nature of tournament magic when you have that top 8 cut. Sure, the Swiss rounds, you can maybe take a couple losses, you can win them all, but you do have to win them all when it